Jah Dr. Cobb, would you deliver the invocation for us, please?
Lord, we come to you and ask for your guidance in all that we do tonight and all that we do for the Cherokee Nation government. We ask that you watch over families not only in the Cherokee Nation but within this United States of America during these tough times. We also ask that you watch over all of our military personnel and their families wherever they are in the world. And in these things we ask your name. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Cobb. Roll call, Ms. Britton. Phil Anglin.
Here.
Phil John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Julia Coates. Here. Bradley Cobb.
Honey.
Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishinghawk. Here. Meredith Fraley. Here. Chanel Fulbright. Here. Don Garvin. Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
Hannah Dory Jordan. Present. Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
David Thornton.
Present.
Terry Cowan Watts.
Honey.
Have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Next order of business is approval of the February 17 regular
So
session.
moved.
Second. Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes as written signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Yes, Ms. Cowan Watts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda as follows. There's 4 additional items that came from committee meetings today. So to add on to the end would be 1 for the Community Services Special Meeting Resolution submitting the 2008 Indian Housing Plan to HUD with the amendments. Number 2, the second item would be Executive and Finance Special Committee, the Mod 5B budget for the economic stimulus package to include those funds. The third item would be from Resources, which is a resolution for an application to the Department of Justice to fund policing services or additional police capacity or COPS. Number 4 would be from Resources, a resolution for Cherokee Nation businesses application to the Department of Energy for renewable energy deployment in Indian Country concerning wind energy.
Councilwoman There's also a 5th one, placing the land in trust at Muskogee.
And I think Councilman Garvin is going to second, and I'll accept that friendly amendment.
Yes, I need to include that one. Put the land in
Accept
trust
that?
and approve it.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I have a second to, can you second the amendment? Any discussion on amending the agenda? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Those items would be under new business. It'd be item 11, item 12, 13, 14, and 15 in the order that she presented them. Okay, next order of business is State of the Nation, and Chief Smith is on travel status, so Deputy Chief Grayson. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm asking the council to excuse me for not going around and shaking hands, but I'm getting over a sinus infection and I really don't want to spread it.
Thank you.
But it is an honor to address the council this evening. It's an honor that I don't get to do very often, and I appreciate your attention, please. And like I said, I don't want to spread my infection. The chief wants me to apologize for him. He is in Washington visiting with legislators and the Leadership Council on Civil Rights and the new Secretary of the Interior. Let me start tonight by honoring our fellow Cherokee citizens and friends who have passed away since our last tribal meeting. Walter Dude Holt and Willie Pritchett. May we have a moment of silence for them, please. Thank you. Veterans. This evening we have a large number of veterans, and it is our color guard. They have received a medal, but they have not received certificates for being veterans, and now we're going to honor them with being a certified Cherokee warrior. And as I call their name, would they please come down and line up? Crystal Craig. Lee Harris. Lee, if you'll just fall in right beside her there. Thank you. John Henderson. He's not here tonight. Sarah Hurst. Jim Phillips. Frank Ford. Greg Squirrel. John Stay-at-Home. John Stroud. Warren Wright. Ron Rodriguez. They are all volunteers. They have to be volunteers to join the Color Guard. You have to be in the military. And they represent the Cherokee Nation extremely well. You can see how they're dressed tonight. They went to the Veterans Memorial Parade in New York, Veterans Day Parade, wasn't it, Don? In New York City. And they wore their jackets, and they were the most photographed Color Guard there. I think the whole New York Police Department had to have their picture taken with them. And they were one of the few Native American, or the only Native American Color Guard in the parade. And they were invited to what was going on at the Intrepid?
The rededication of the Intrepid, reopening.
The reopening of the USS Intrepid. And it was a surprise invitation for them because they were just invited right on the spot. They didn't know they were going to do that when they got there. Also, they knew all of the veterans, the burials in the National Cemetery. There is somebody there from the Color Guard representing the Cherokee Nation. And usually it's at least 6 of them. And I was told by the director of the National Cemetery that the Cherokee Color Guard escorts the veteran from the time they enter the gate till they go to the pavilion. And he said it is the only Color Guard in this area that does that. The rest of them do not escort the veteran from the gate to the pavilion for the service. So they are very proud of our Color Guard and say they do extremely well. Would you give them another hand? We should thank the Color Guard for appearing tonight. The Cherokee Nation Marshal Service and the Washington County Sheriff's Department formalized a cross-deputization agreement. This makes 12 out of the 14 counties that are now cross-deputized. We are currently cross-deputized with Craig, Mays, Muskogee, Nowata, Adair, Sequoia, Cherokee, Delaware, Rogers, McIntosh, Washington, and Wagner counties. These agreements allow for faster response times and more efficient law enforcement in the county. Sequoia Schools has many achievements in the last month. Here are just a few. Janita Pettit, a junior at Sequoia School, has been named a United States National Award winner in mathematics. Shane Boyd has received official notification that he has been appointed to the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Is Shane here tonight? Moving on. Sequoia Schools received special recognition by the Gates Millennium Scholars Program for their college preparation practices, and in 2008, Sequoia had the second highest number of Gates Millennium Scholars in the United States, with 8 students earning the Gates Scholarship that pays for their college tuition, books, and fees throughout their college careers. Augusta Smith, college prep teacher and librarian at Sequoia Schools, was recently selected as the Educator of Distinction by the National Society of High School Scholars. Augusta is an important reason we have so many Gates recipients. Jay Hanna served as NSU's Master of Ceremony, and Chief Miss was featured as speaker. Cherokee storyteller Gail Ross told the story of the Rosebuds. Elder Benny Smith blessed the statue created by the Cherokee artist Daniel Horsechief, and this was the event of the Centennial Plaza at NSU. You unveiled Horsechief's bronze statue of Sequoia. The statue stands on the lawn in front of the Seminary Hall in the center of Centennial Plaza. The plaza is surrounded by pillars that are capped with images representing the 7 clans of the Cherokee. The clans' images were a result of a collaboration between Benny Smith and Cherokee Nation graphic artist Daniel Mink. Daniel Mink is also did the graphics on the Cherokee school bus that shows all the clans. And if you get a chance, please go and visit the plaza at the university. And last month, Cherokee named Cherokee citizen Dr. Charles Grimm as Senior Director of Health Services. Dr. Grimm formerly held the office of Director of Indian Health Services. Dr. Grimm, would you stand, please? Thank you and welcome aboard, sir. Cherokee Nation Education Services recently hosted students from throughout Cherokee Nation at the 3rd Annual Cherokee Nation Science and Engineering Fair. Students from local schools entered more than 135 projects, and some participated in team projects. Would those representatives please stand, please? Shauna, I believe you wanted to say something?
Our school district took out the ACES program, which is American Indian Science and Engineering Society, last year, and I participated in the Cherokee Nation Science Fair, and the Cherokee Nation sponsored me whenever I won first place overall to go to the National American Indian Science Fair, and they sponsored me again this year. And I just want to say how much I appreciate the Cherokee Nation supporting sciences in this way and supporting my school by giving me money and sponsoring me to be able to go on. So I just want to say thank you.
Just state your name, sir. And what?
Andy Pratt, Cherokee Nation Education Services, Education Outreach Specialist. In Education Services, we've had another achievement this year. First robotics team is Sequoia High School. Dr. Cole over here, you'll stand for me, please, sir, is partnered with me in time and mentoring Sequoia High School students in the first robotics competition. It's our second year competing. We've earned a trophy home this year for best design, performance, and merit. Thanks.
Thank you. And one of the robots is outside in the hall. And we have some announcements this evening. The Cherokee Nation will observe Native American HIV/AIDS Awareness Day by hosting a community program on March 26th at 10 a.m. to noon in the council chambers here at the complex. We are also hosting an orientation to entrepreneurship workshop on March 24th to educate interested community members about owning and operating a small business. I also want to congratulate Sequoia Schools basketball teams, coaches, and players for their hard work this year. The teams have consistently had a presence at the Oklahoma State basketball tournament over the last 10 years. And that concludes my State of the Nation report. Thank you very much.
With the council indulgence, I would like to have Sharon Wright come forward and recognize her officers that were involved in the Standing Rock Peacekeeper mission, I believe it was called. And you might want to tell them, Sharon, a little bit about what that was about and how our officers contributed there.
Well, the BIA had a peacekeeper direction to try to give Standing Rock some support in law enforcement. They were had crime so bad and not enough officers to take care of it, and it was in such a crisis at the time that they asked different agencies to supply officers to help with the calls that came through at Standing Rock and then later on at Pine Ridge. And the calls were just daunting. There were more calls than there were people available. From what I understand, the people of Standing Rock was very appreciative in the fact that no one was reacting to crime, and when we were there, they could barely get one situation resolved. There was another one coming up. I mean, they were just overloaded. But they went at details a month at a time. And when I asked officers to step up and volunteer, I actually had volunteers. I didn't have to actually pull them. I had volunteers, and I'd like to introduce the 5 gentlemen that volunteered to participate in Peacekeeper. And they served the nation well, they served their department well, and they did such a tremendous job up there. They were recognized by the BIA, and they also took a lot of time away from their families and their friends here. They worked 12-hour shifts every day they were up there, and they did an excellent job. BIA and other agencies who were up there have been trying to recruit them. They did such a good job, and I've tried to tell them, leave my guys alone, but they were excellent officers. So I'd like to introduce them and have them come down. On the far left, we have John Timothy. He's a sergeant with the department. Rodney Kingfisher, Farron Pritchett, he's a corporal. Sergeant McCarter, Chad McCarter, and Officer Daniel Meade, and they did an excellent job.
Sharon, any of your officers would like to say a few words?
I know, and Daniel volunteered for 2 times. He went to not only Standing Rock but also Pine Ridge, so he did double duty on us when we had to find another volunteer and was searching. He volunteered twice. Would any of you like to tell about your experience up there, what it did for you?
Like Sharon said, we got the call and we all volunteered. Everyone was pretty enthused to be there. And a lot of us had experience here on the street serving the Indian country in this jurisdiction. So when we went up there was a slight dialect difference to how they speak and how we understood. We got over that. We got familiar with the areas. We ended up making pretty good friends up there with the community, getting to know them personally, and that helped us out on resolving a lot of problems and chasing the crimes and the high call volume. We're all glad to have served, and we're proud to be here to serve Indian country in this jurisdiction as well.
And Sergeant Timothy, in the past, he volunteered to go to Red Lake during the school shootings, and he gave them a security plan for their school at the time. That was one of the things he contributed when he went up there. So, thank you.
And one of the officers is a nephew of Curtis Snell, so I don't know how in the world you ever got him up there. Next on the agenda is action of unfinished business. There being none pending, we move on to committee reports. And the first one is Housing Authority, Mr. Sutherland, David Sutherland.
I've been to Pine Ridge, and when I left, I told Stan Hummingbird, I said, I don't believe I'll ever go back here unless I have a gun. I was kidding, I'd never go back even with a gun. So those guys, I give it up to them. Good to be here this evening to address the council. The Housing Authority Board meeting met this past Friday. The regular meeting was scheduled for tomorrow evening, but we had to reschedule. The board had a light agenda. First thing they talked about was the fiscal year 08 audit, which was presented by the auditors, Arledge and Associates. There were no findings, which is always good. Staff did a real good job doing what they're supposed to do and should be commended. The board also approved a revision to the FY09 MEPA budget. This funding is used by the mutual help home buyers when they make repairs to their homes. We're adding $300,000 to that budget to make it through the end of the fiscal year. The board did approve that revision. The other item discussed was cooperation agreements, specifically the agreements we have with Cherokee County. Adair County has also requested that we look at those, so we'll be working on those for the next few weeks. Co-op agreements are required to do business with HUD funds. We've had those agreements in place for many years, and I think the counties would like to relook at those. Staff's been busy planning for the stimulus funding that should be available in the next few weeks. We're looking forward to being able to serve several families that we wouldn't have gotten to this year with that funding. With the amount of work that we will be doing, it should stimulate several of the contractors around northeastern Oklahoma. That's the intent, and that's what we're planning to do. We're very thankful to get those funds. That's my report for the evening. If anyone has any questions, I'm sure try to answer them.
Any questions? Comments for Mr. Sutherland? No, thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Next two reports are Cherokee Nation Enterprises and Cherokee Nation Business. David Stewart. Good evening, David.
C&E reported a great January. I always look for the very positive news that we have, and in fact, this January was the best January in the history of the company. So that's very good. We're seeing some rebound in the economy, and we're optimistic that our results will continue. Our employment is at 60% throughout all management levels of the company, and we always strive to increase that. Our employment is at 3,387 now, which means we've hired about 200 people over the past several months, and we're going to kick off our Catoosa expansion hiring, so we'll have job fairs and we'll start that process in Tulsa. So we would expect to hire another couple of hundred people. So we're really excited about that. The construction side of things is on target. We plan to soft open the casino with the hotel and the convention space January the 1st with the Hard Rock brand, with the theater coming several months later. And the grand opening will be in July. So put that on your calendars. We'll be sure and keep you apprised of that. It should be a very exciting time. So that would conclude my report on C&E. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Any questions? Mr. Stewart?
Okay. At C&B, we kicked off our effort to establish industry groups, and the idea there is that we take We base our business efforts on expertise that we currently have, such as healthcare, IT. So we have spearheaded this approach where we develop expertise in areas and then try to figure out where we can do business better. So you'll hear some about that over the next couple of months. We assisted C&I in the recent acquisition of Red Wing, and we continue to work on developing new business, and hopefully within the next 2 or 3 months we'll have an acquisition to report. So if there's any questions about C&B, I'd be happy to address those as well.
Questions for Mr. Stewart?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the brief report. Cherokee Nation Industries, Mr. Dvorstek.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Brian is in Washington, D.C. this week visiting customers and local delegates. Last week, Brian and many of the executive group were at the Res 09 show in Las Vegas. I guess it stands for the Reservation Economic Summit. He met new potential customers and made a lot of contacts, so he was very pleased with the results. Employee totals for the month of February total 468, of which 82% were Native Americans. We closed our books for the month of February this past Friday. The month of February, and our results were encouraging. Even though revenue was substantially below budget, it did exceed prior year by $396,000. And I'm pleased to report that we had a profit in the month of February of $95,000. Even though it didn't match our budget, we were off a little bit, but by $61,000, we were encouraged by some uptick in telecom revenue. Also, C&I A&D, which had a budgeted profit before corporate overhead of $157,000, actually came in with a profit of $152,000. So some of the progress that our new general manager has instituted with additional training and focus on cost efficiencies and labor efficiencies is starting to pay off. So that's my report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them for you.
Any questions? Comments? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
There being no old business pending, we'll move on to new business. And out of the Resource Committee, we have a resolution authorizing leasing trust land to the Bell Dependent School. Mr. Crittenden.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now explaining, I guess, the sponsor. Ms. Fishenhoff wants to be the sponsor of that also. I think we change that. This is an amendment to a resolution 8608, which dealt with 12.5 acres. This new lease will be for 20 acres. It's a $1 a year lease for 25 years, and the appraisal will be waived, and it's a renewal of a lease, and so I move for approval.
Second. Moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 2 is a resolution authorizes the placing of land in trust in Taiwan. Ms. Count-Watts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm honored to present this resolution placing the land in trust for the community building for the Rogers County Cherokee Association, which resides on 8.84 acres in the community of Taiwan in Rogers County. I make a motion to approve.
Second. Moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 3, this resolution authorizes an application to the United States Environmental Protection Agency for solid waste projects. Ms. Count-Watts.
This is for our group that we manage as a partner with the EPA, or the Environmental Protection Agency, with the Intertribal Environmental Council, that we serve other tribes, and we have an excellent environmental services staff that administers these programs. And this grant in particular is for ITEC to provide recycling and solid waste management and education training for other tribes. I move for approval.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And out of Rules Committee is item 4. This act repeals the legislative act covering reimbursement of travel expenses for council members. Mr. Anglin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And the purpose of this act is to set rules and procedures for travel expense reimbursement for Cherokee Nation Tribal Council members, and I move for its approval.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. One nay.
Madam Speaker,
Yes.
the legislative act, and it wasn't by acclamation, so therefore you'll need a roll call vote.
Thank you. Roll call.
Harley Buzzard,
Yes.
Julia Coates,
Yes.
Bradley Cobb,
Yes.
Joe Crittenden,
Yes.
Jody Fishinghawk,
Yes.
Meredith Fraley,
No.
Janelle Fulbright,
Yes.
Don Garvin,
Yes.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Yes.
Hannah Glory Jordan,
Yes.
Curtis Snell,
Yes.
Chris Soap,
Yes.
David Thornton,
Yes.
Kara Cowan Watts,
Yes.
Bill Anglin,
Yes.
Bill John Baker,
No.
Jack Baker.
Yes.
We have 15 yea and 2 nay.
15 yes, 2 no. Motion carries. Okay, item 5 is an act establishing authority and jurisdiction for Cherokee Nation District Courts and Supreme Court to exercise declaratory judgments. I would entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
So moved.
Moved, and who's second?
I did.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, items
By acclamation.
by acclamation. Sorry, Todd. Item 6 is an act amending 3805 Tribal Employment Rights Ordinance. Ms. Calwatt, or you want me to present that one?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It doesn't matter. I appreciate your authorship of it, and you were kind enough to allow us to co-sponsor. So,
An intent of this legislation is to be pro-business and to help businesses who do business with the Cherokee Nation and its entities, and also to promote a culture of prompt payment. After researching in particular construction contracts, I learned that the problem with prompt payment is nationwide. A study revealed that the average time for contractors to receive retainage was 93 days after completion of the contract. The average time for a subcontractor thereafter or supplier was 180 days, and 10% received only partial and none of the retainage. I believe this legislation is a step in the right direction that will enhance the partnership between large and small business and the Cherokee Nation and its entities. Being a small business owner myself, I understand the importance in receiving payments on time, as it adversely affects your cash flow, and it can imperil efficiency and create more costs, which many times are not recoverable. And when a contractor, for instance, isn't paid on time and has to borrow money, those costs many times are not recoverable. I think we want our contractors to be successful, and the primary goal of this legislation is fairness. And I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Ms. Cowan-Watts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I absolutely echo your words for the intent of this legislation. I think it's imperative that as the tribe and our tribal businesses grow, that we set the expectation that as we foster our small tribal citizens' personal-owned businesses, that we set out accountability both as a tribal government and within our businesses, that we provide them with prompt payment so that their cash flow can maintain them, even including during difficult times like we may be experiencing now today with the economy the way it is. So I think that this is just good government
to set the expectation and make sure that we are all accountable to each other, because it also sets aside that we have grievances if the product or the service is not to our satisfaction. There is a proper way and the expectation for us to give that feedback in an appropriate, timely manner if they're not going to have received payment. So I think it just sets the groundwork for everybody to do business together, and as we grow, it becomes more important because we're not the small tribal government anymore. We have to be clear on these things. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Mr. Soap?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I just would like to know if the administration, Secretary Knight, or maybe Ms. Ketcher would like to comment on any issues that this legislation might cause. I know when we discussed it in committee, there was a little bit of hesitation, and it felt like we could manage it within the department. And there's certain things that there's a vendor or supplier that you negotiate with, the person that you're doing business with, and those terms are between you and them, and it's not mandated that every specific case be exactly the same. So there's certain reviews and things that have to be done, and I'm just curious as to whether or not we've had time to review. I know we went through it pretty quick in committee, and just would like some additional feedback before we take this vote and determine, because there is a little bit of time between 30 days and the the U.S. average, according to the statistics we heard, of 90 days. So I just would like some additional feedback on that prior to the vote, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Go ahead, please.
We do have some concerns about this proposed act, and I'll just highlight a couple of them, and then I would invite the treasurer to highlight any concerns that she might have from that standpoint. The first one is, once we heard about an initiative about prompt payment, first question is, what problems are we trying to address, or what objectives are we trying to achieve? And all of the problems that were presented back to us were along the lines of payment not from the nation or payment from the nation's entities, but payment from the nation's subcontractors, contractors to subcontractors. And so it was payment at a level that the nation wasn't actually making the payment. It's a payment of our contractors to subcontractors that were the issues, the primary issues that we heard about. Of course, we want to deal with those. And there are ways to, I think, deal with those in the contract that we have with those general contractors, if need be, or even passage of legislation if necessary. But this act, I don't believe, would address that. And those are the primary concerns that...
Point of order.
Yes, Mr. Baker.
The technical advice, questions answered, you're not to debate the issue. That's the rules of the council.
Sir, I didn't intend to debate, but we were asked for the opinion of the administration on this bill, so that's what I'm trying to deliver.
What was your specific question?
Yes, I was just wanting to know that there was any feedback based upon if it was going to cause the administration any additional issues, whether, if we're given technical advice. I guess that my question wasn't answered a yes or no answer, so if maybe Callie could answer, if it's going to cause you issues, I guess the answer is yes. If it's not, then no.
From my standpoint, yes. If you'd like to know more, I'd be happy to address it.
Thank you. Ms. Ketch, would you like to comment?
Thank you. It will cause some problems, specifically on the governmental side. Anything that is funded with federal dollars, we cannot pay late payments on. We will need to appropriate general fund dollars, and I would be happy to sit down with any of the council and show you our reports on the average number of days it takes us to pay a vendor. I ran some last week, and we're doing really well. Most of our vendors, and this is all vendors, not just Taro, most of our vendors are paid within 30 days, between 89 and 90%.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? We have a motion and a second, and this is an act. Roll call.
Janelle Fulbright.
No.
Don Garvin.
No.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Yes.
Tina Gloria Jordan,
Yes.
Curtis Snell,
Yes.
Chris Soap,
No.
David Thornton,
Yes.
Kara Cowan Watts,
Yes.
Buell Anglin,
No.
Bill John Baker,
Yes.
Jack Baker,
No.
Harley Buzzard,
Yes.
Julia Coates,
No.
Bradley Cobb,
Yes.
Joe Crittenden,
Yes.
Jody Fishinghawk,
Yes.
Meredith Fraley.
Yes.
We have 11 yes and 6 no.
11 yes, 6 no. Motion carries. Okay, item 7 is a proposal to amend the Cherokee Nation Constitution, eliminating term limits for the principal chief and deputy chief. Ms. Cowan Watts, did you want to present that?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This resolution would put forward a constitutional amendment on the regular 2011 election ballot, so no special election, and it would put forward a constitutional amendment just concerning term limits for the executive branch for both the principal chief and the deputy chief for a vote of the Cherokee people. So it would remove the term limits if you voted yes, and if you voted no, then it would keep the Constitution the same with respect to both the principal chief and the deputy chief. And I'd like to make a motion to approve to put this on the 2011 regular election ballot.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Baker?
Table, this is before the courts at this time, and I don't think it's really right for us to do anything with till we get an answer one way or the other.
Have a motion to table?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Roll call, yes, it's to table.
Jack Baker,
No.
Harley Buzzard,
No.
Julia Coates,
No.
Bradley Cobb,
No.
Joe Crittenden,
Yes.
Jody Fishinghawk,
Yes.
Meredith Fraley,
Yes.
Janelle Fulbright,
No.
Don Garvin,
No.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Yes.
Tina Gloria Jordan,
Yes.
Curtis Snell,
No.
Chris Soap,
Yes.
David Thornton,
Yes.
Kara Cowan Watts,
No.
Buell Anglin,
No.
Bill John Baker.
Yes.
We have 8 yes and 9 no.
8 yes, 9 no. Motion fails to table. Now, to approve.
I'm sorry.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Roll call.
Curtis Snell,
This is to approve the resolution as presented.
As it is. Yes.
The last one was to table it.
Yes.
Chris Soap,
Yes.
David Thornton,
Yes.
Kara Cowan Watts,
Yes.
Buell Anglin,
Yes.
Bill John Baker,
No.
Jack Baker,
Yes.
Harley Buzzard,
Yes.
Julia Coates,
Yes.
Bradley Cobb,
Yes.
Joe Crittenden,
No.
Jody Fishinghawk,
No.
Meredith Fraley,
Yes.
Janelle Fulbright,
Yes.
Don Garvin,
Yes.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Yes.
Tina Gloria Jordan.
No.
We have 13 yes and 4 no.
13 yes, 4 no, motion carries. Okay, item 8 is a proposal to amend the Cherokee Nation Constitution, eliminating term limits for tribal council members. Ms. Watts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, this would be a vote of the Cherokee people on the regular 2011 election. But during debate, during committee, instead of being
term limits all or nothing for both branches, the dialogue and the discussion became that we separated out. So we've got now the legislative branch to be considered by the Cherokee people separately from the executive branch, much like you might have in the U.S. government, where the president is term limited, but the Senate and Congress are not term limited. That might be one outcome. And of course, that outcome then is up to the Cherokee people to decide the issues in two separate ballot questions should this pass today on the regular 2011 election. To answer the earlier concern about the table, it is important that although we may have many things pending in front of the Cherokee Supreme Court or the Cherokee District Court, nothing in the Cherokee Constitution is ever retroactive. So although you could have a scenario where the Supreme Court rules that we are under existing term limits, and many of us, including myself on this council, would not be able to run in the 2011 election in my current seat. Given that, this would still be an issue then for the 2011 ballot or election, regardless of how the Supreme Court rules. My constituents have expressed to me very clearly that they want to vote separately on this issue because when we had the Constitution in 2003, it was an all or nothing Constitution. And this was one of the many issues that they would like to reconsider for a vote of the people, and it's not something for us to decide here today. I'll make a motion to approve, Madam Speaker.
Second. Moved and second. Any discussion? Dr. Cobb?
I want to take a second and as I was watching the discussion, and I remember before I was elected to the tribal council sitting in the audience, and I would see the agenda go through, and I would see what people were voting on, and I know there are varying opinions on this council about these two amendments. Personally, I am in favor of term limits. I think a little revolution is good for the soul every once in a while, and the argument is that there are term limits built in. You have to get elected that every 4 years, whatever the term is, and that doesn't quite sway it for me. I am in favor of term limits, but the reality is that I am an elected official and I have a constituency. And I was a little surprised, and I talked to Councilor Watts about this. I have people in my district, some are in favor of term limits and some are not in favor of term limits. And this issue is much bigger than I am as a councilor. And what these two amendments to the Constitution are basically saying is that the people have the right to decide, do you want term limits or do you not? And that is why I am voting for these two amendments. I believe that people have the right to decide this. So irregardless of what I think, I'm an elected official in the Cherokee Nation, and my job is to represent those interests. So I thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Cobb. Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Norton?
I just want to kind of make this comment to my constituents. I've ran for three terms. I've been elected every term. They could have term limited me out the first term, or the second term, or the third. But this new Constitution is in effect, and the people voted on this new Constitution. And in that Constitution, it said that we would be term limited. I, as much as anyone else on this council, want to run again. But whatever these judges come up with, here in the next couple of years, they'll decide whether I run again. These judges will. It should be left up to the people to decide. I think they decided once, but I'd like to give them another try. So with that, I think I'm going to vote for this.
Any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Roll call, please. Yes is you support the resolution.
Kara Cowan Watts.
Yes.
Buell Anglin.
Yes.
Bill John Baker.
No.
Jack Baker.
Yes.
Harley Buzzard.
Yes.
Julia Coates.
Yes.
Bradley Cobb.
Yes.
Joe Crittenden.
No.
Jody Fishinghawk.
No.
Meredith Fraley.
Yes.
Janelle Fulbright.
Yes.
Don Garvin.
Yes.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Yes.
Hannah Glory Jordan,
No.
Curtis Snell,
Yes.
Chris Soap,
Yes.
David Thornton.
Yes.
We have 13 yes and 4 no.
13 yes, 4 no, motion carries. Okay, item 9 is a resolution ratifying litigation in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District. I guess I'm doing that one. A recent ruling by the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit dismissed the Cherokee Nation in the Van versus Kempthorne case covering the citizenship of freedmen in the Cherokee Nation. And however, to settle this long-standing controversy, it is desirable for a federal court to determine the construction of the 1866 treaty language and any federal law determining the federal rights, if any, of the freedmen and their descendants. In other words, the filing allows a federal court to reach a decision on the merits and without compromising our sovereignty and without setting a precedent not only for the Cherokee Nation but for Indian country in general. And I would entertain a motion.
I move to be approved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, out of Executive Finance, item 10 is Mod 5, amending the 2009 fiscal year budget. Councilor Baker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This Mod 5 has a $1.5 million increase on the budget authority, primarily $276,000 of cash match for grants, $616,000 housing proceeds from sales, and $773,000 housing budget carryover funds for the 2004-2008. And I make a motion that we approve it.
Second. By acclamation?
By acclamation.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, and the new items that were added, item 11 is a resolution approving the submission of the 2008 Indian Housing Plan. Mr. Buzzard.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve this plan. And what this would do is put more money into our housing program, so I'll make a motion that we approve it. Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, item 12 is, I'll find it here. It's Mod 5B and covers the economic stimulus handout that we have there in front of us. Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This Mod 5B is for the economic stimulus package, the funds that we are expected to receive for the stimulus package initially. And we're hoping that there will be additional funds to these. But it's for $42 million. It has over $12 million for roads, $846,000 for natural resources and forestry, $900,000 for our supplemental program, $6,700,000 for maintenance improvement on the Indian Health Service, also $10 million for water and sewer for the Indian Health Service, plus the $11,900,000 increase in the housing funds. I make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
By acclamation.
By acclamation.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 13 is a resolution submitting a grant application to the Department of Justice for funding to increase our community policing capacity and crime prevention efforts. I would entertain a motion.
I move to be approved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 14 is a resolution authorizing Cherokee Nation businesses to submit an application to the Department of Energy for renewable energy deployment in Indian country. Mr. Jack Baker.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. This is for a wind energy project on our Chilocco property, and it's
allow for Cherokee Nation businesses to apply for up to $1 million grant for pre-construction projects on the wind energy farm. There is a 100% match, but those funds have already been approved by Cherokee Nation businesses, and we're in the budget that has already been approved. And I make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And finally, item 15 is a resolution authorizing the placement of land in trust at Three Rivers Health Center in Muskogee. Mr. Garvin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As you probably remember, we did this last year, but we're going to have to lick our calf over again. We didn't quite have the legal description right. It should be Lot 1, Block 1, so forth. And I make a motion we approve this by acclamation.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Are there any announcements?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Husband.
Congratulations is in order to the Bonita Lady Hornets, who are the state champions in Class 4A basketball. Now, I think Councilor Thornton would put an asterisk by that. They did not beat Vian. I don't think they played him, so. Also, by now, Madam Speaker, you know Dylan Chuckluck, the youth council, the newest member of the youth council from District 9. His family is here with him. Savannah Chuckluck, Damon Chuckluck, Damon Chuckluck, and Colleen Chuckluck. So I'd like to recognize them. They're my friends and neighbors from Bonita.
Any other announcements?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Baker.
I'd like to remind everyone that we had a joint council with the Eastern Band at Red Clay, Tennessee on the 16th, 17th, and 18th of April, and I would encourage all of you to attend. Thank you.
Any other announcements? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Whoa, sorry. You sure can. Come down to the microphone.
My name is Danielle Culp. I'm the president of the Cherokee Nation Tribal Youth Council, and we would like to remind you that our powwow, our second annual powwow, is March 28th. You'll see flyers around, hopefully, and I'd like to invite all of you to come and invite people from your community. We hope that it will be a big and great success, and gourd dancing starts at 2.
What was the date again?
March 28th.
March 28th.
It's at Sequoia, the old gym.
Would you repeat that? Real John couldn't hear. Wherever.
It's at Sequoia Gym, the old gym.
Sequoia Gym, the old Sequoia Gym.
And it starts at 2.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Good evening, everyone.